Well, I think there are basically four major elements, I would say. The first one is a pure political one, has to do with agricultural policies in the world. As you know, OECD countries alone are spending $365 billion just on subsidies, and those subsidies are trade distorting and are protectionist and doesn't help really to take full advantage of the agricultural supply chain. The second aspect, I think very important one, is the aspect of productivity. Agricultural productivity has been outperforming industrial productivity over the last 30 years, but unfortunately since about 2005, productivity is coming down every single year, and part of it is because we don't use all the technology which is available. The third one is increased consumption, which is positive, I would say, as we are growing. Still, world population is growing very strong, so you need more food, you have to produce more calories. And the fourth one has to do with the non-efficient usage of resources, and water being the most important one of that. If you are spending 60, 70, 80% of your disposable income on food, of course it will be touched the most. It's quite different if an American spends 10, 15% of his disposable income. Well, he's affected on his 10, 15%. If a poor farmer somewhere in India or Pakistan is affected, well, it affects him by 80% of his disposable income. Our most important responsibility, first of all, is to drive efficiency in the supply chain. And with this make more food available. In this respect, it's quite interesting if you think that in emerging countries, between 30 to 50% of all food is being lost because of a non-efficient supply chain, whereas the same figure in the more developed countries only 3 to 5%. There's a huge opportunity there. Secondly, I think as private sector, we also have to stand up and speak up and explain to the policy makers what is wrong about the decisions they have taken. I mean, to use 30% of the US maize production for biofuel, frankly speaking, is not very helpful. As a matter of fact, the World Bank says that more than 2/3 of this spectacular increase of food prices is due to this one political decision. So I think that's a second responsibility that we have about. The third one, of course, is to help the farmers all over the world in order to improve their efficiency. And in our case, we are working with 600,000 farmers all over the world directly, bringing them know-how, bringing them technical assistance, bringing them microcredit. So quite a lot of things where private enterprise can and should be active. Well, as I just mentioned before, I mean, 600,000 farmers directly receiving technical assistance, microcredit, very important. I think you have certainly seen me speaking in public against protectionism, against trade distorting subsidies. I think it is one of the main reasons why the Doha round, unfortunately, has not been able to come to a positive end. I also believe that we have to talk very clearly about the advantages of GMO and how we need to improve the productivity again of agricultural production, which is another, in Europe at least, a very sensitive issue, and yet I have been many times talking about this, why it is necessary in the world. And I think we have to be very conscious about how we use the resources more efficiently, and in the case of Nestle, water is the one resource where we are working most about it. Well, it's not only as an individual. I'm taking this course as the chairman of the world-leading nutrition, health and wellness company. And the main reason is that in order to make our company sustainable in the long term, we need to assure that we will have raw materials available. Without raw materials, there's no business. And in order to have agricultural raw materials, we need water. Now, this is the one element in the world that will we will be running out of sooner than we believe. And there was no consciousness, there was no global consciousness on how critical the water supply is and how critical the water scarcity is. If we do not change, we will be running out of water long, but long before we're running out of oil.